Greetings, fellow Whovians, and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. I'm not going to lie, the story that I'm going to review today is not one of my favourites. It's one of those stories that I really struggled to get into. I've probably only watched a handful of times, less than a handful of times. But with this new release of the season 25 of Classic Doctor Who on Blu Ray, I thought I'm going to give this story another chance and just give it a fresh pair of eyes, especially with the new updated effects or a special edition version of this story. So please hit the subscribe button as I review the classic 7th Doctor story, The Happiness Patrol, originally broadcast on BBC One in November 1988. But just in case you don't know the plot, the 7th Doctor and Ace arrive on the planet Terra Alpha, an Earth colony that has, well, definitely gone wrong. There is a dictator running Terra Alpha with the rule that it is illegal to be unhappy, with investigating agents and hunters called Killjoys who will execute anyone not obeying this law. There's also a demonic robot and a snarling dog-like creature who are also employed to do the same. The Doctor does not like what he sees and sets out to put a stop to all this madness. I wanted to talk about the great casting for this story. It is definitely something that was, I would say, a particular highlight for season 25 of Doctor Who. Just again, it was criticisms with John Nathan Turner about stunt casting and casting the wrong particular actor or actress just for their star power, whether they sort of fit the role of the character or not. But yeah, I disagree with this one, particularly for season 25 and particularly for this story, notably Sheila Hancock as Helen A, the dictator of Terra Alpha, with a very Thatcher-esque performance. Yeah, she was pretty much Margaret Thatcher in this story. You saw those little nuances, not like a proper hit hard on the nose, even though it's kind of like one of those, you know what we're talking about, we know who we're talking about, but it had those little nuances to a character, just basically yep, I know who you're talking about here. And yeah, just fascinating to watch her performance all throughout the 3 episodes, from sort of like being this dominant, impregnable Iron Woman to coin a phrase, to basically this rapid decline and watching her world tumble around her. It very much, particularly at the end when she's just cradling her poor dog-like creature, Fifi, who pretty much, I think, towards the end of it is all she cared about, really. Yeah, it very much looked like a sort of Doctor Who telling the future in terms of the downfall of Margaret Thatcher. So yeah, like I said, it was a hell of a performance from Sheila. An amazing cast for this story, including Lindsay Dunlop, who was one of the Killjoys, Susan Q, or Susie Q, I think she was, in the story. She's been in Doctor Who before, and she's better known now as Brenda in Emmerdale. If you're an Emmerdale fan, she was in Doctor Who as well. Yeah, it was a really sort of good performance there from Lindsay. And what I sort of appreciated more, especially watching the extras, is how much of a nice kindred friendship that Lindsay and Sophie have to this day, 35 years later. Rachel Bell as Priscilla P. Out of the Killjoys, they just had a really good, unique look to them. It was kind of like timeless and yet of its time, with the whole pink hair, pink shoes, long legs. It just yeah, just had that 80s vibe as well about them, but had a real good presence as well from their own character performances, as well as just all the costume and makeup. John Normington as Trevor Sigma, again, just an iconic acting voice. Obviously, you saw that in the 5th Doctor story, The Caves of Antrizani, as Morgus, but you also get a short but sweet performance here from John as Trevor Sigma. And honestly, the list goes on and on with this casting. Ronald Fraser, as well as Joseph C, the long-suffering husband of Helen A. I also liked at the end of the story where Joseph C sort of kind of sees the writing of the wall and just goes, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm off. And him and Gilbert M, who was kind of like the creator of the Candyman, just disappear together off Terra Alpha to have a new life with each other. And I don't know, maybe it's me reading into this, or maybe just watching it through sort of 21st century eyes. I can see them becoming an item. I really do. I just felt there was something a little bit more. Kind of went a little bit camp towards the end, but you know, this story is a little bit camp as well. The story is just kind of all over the place, but I'll get into that a little bit later in this review. Now that I mentioned it, let's talk about the Candyman because how did the BBC not get sued by the Bassett Company? I have no idea. Obviously, very much a blatant rip-off of Bertie Bassett, Licorice All Sorts, Maynards, what do you want to call it now. Impressive costume, though. I've got to give it that, you know, and you know, thumbs up for the actor that was in that outfit and able to have a lot of maneuverability in that outfit as well, because especially when he's crawling along the pipes around the complex on Terra Alpha. Yeah, it's not a very easy costume to do, but yeah, definite. I would say it's a weird love hate with this costume. You know, it's like it's impressive in terms of what they could have done with that and the sort of character designs. I can understand if it was maybe one, you know, as part of a Blue Peter competition or something like that, because it is just bonkers, a little bit terrifying as well, but just again, just weird out of place. It's like I said, with the story, it's just all over the place, and this is just one of those added elements that makes it feel all out of place. I don't know if it's one of those characters that was just a touch too far. You let me know in the comments, my fellow Whovians, on this one, whether you're a fan of the Candyman or not. I'll say the strong highlight is the Seventh Doctor and Ace, Sylvester and Sophie. I really love the chemistry that you get with them together. You had it sort of carrying on from Remembrance of the Daleks. This is the next story to be broadcast on BBC One, and yeah, you really sort of see that build up of their relationship, and obviously it just grows and grows throughout the rest of their tenure. But it just starts to just really knit together, I feel, in this particular story, and then really sort of ramps up. Probably, yeah, it sort of takes an extra step in the greatest show in the galaxy, but really sort of grabs hold by the time we get to Silver Nemesis. This is just kind of like the building blocks, really, but really sort of taking shape. But what I also appreciate is when they're not together and they've been separated in their own sort of subplot adventures, they really can hold their own. Sophie, like I said, having those nice little one-to-one moments with Susan Q and bringing out the best out of Susan Q, I would say, with her character sort of like pretending to smile when she doesn't want to. You know, those nice little moments, touches, and as well as obviously Ace being the have a go sort of action hero as well against the Candyman. So yeah, it was nice to see those, and of course Sylvester McCoy as the Seventh Doctor. Again, his characterization of the Doctor is just growing and growing, and the particular scene that I liked was the scene with the guard with the gun and having that little duologue of you know, you want to kill me, why don't you shoot me, you're scared, and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's it reminded me of the Iron Woman performance, the sort of audition that he did alongside Janet Fielding when he was auditioning for the role as the Doctor. And I'm glad that they kind of did that role, because I don't think if they didn't probably see that audition tape, where then they might have thought maybe because of Sylvester's past comedic skills, they might have just not have done something like that for Sylvester to get his teeth sinked into. And thankfully they did, because yeah, he definitely holds his own. And yeah, I can see why There are a lot of fans of Sylvester McCoy as the Seventh Doctor, and a particular highlight from the Seventh Doctor era was this moment. As I hinted earlier in this video, this is the special edition that I watched with new added effects and extended scenes. Again, I don't know the story that well to sort of talk about what bits were cut, what bits were added. But what I can tell you was the special effects and just really sort of just kind of expanding on the world building of Terra Alpha and the complex and the sort of city. That looked really good and just blended in quite well with the original broadcast footage. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job with that. And yeah, like I said, it just made the story just have that extra lift to it with those extra added touches. But as the story on its own, it's again, like I said, it's just a bit all over the place. There's parts of it where I feel like it does belong in season 25 of Classic Who, but there's other moments, probably particularly from part 3, where I feel like the story started to collapse under its own weight. It feels like it's something from season 24. It just, I don't know, it just feels a bit off. I don't know if that's just terms of pacing, storytelling, because there was a lot of great ideas in this story. And it's definitely one of those that feels like Doctor Who, but I don't know, maybe because of the time it was filmed, and maybe budget and time constraints. I feel like they had something really good, but just couldn't quite get to grips on how to present it, how to sort of get the best out of this story. That's how I feel about it. I'm just very conflicted. Like I said, the build up was quite good, and the world building was impressive, and I think that was kind of lifted even more in the special edition version that I've seen. But I still think it does collapse under its own weight by part 3. Again, with its sort of goofier tones and more sort of campy tones as well. I kind of agree with what was mentioned in the making of featurettes from this box set, this Blu Ray box set, where if it was what it was filmed in film noir, there was talked about doing it in that style back in the 80s, but obviously they didn't go down that direction. And I feel like if they ever did a remake of this story, or maybe Rusty Davies takes some ideas from the story and does it on his own for a future episode of Doctor Who, I think that's the route they would go to. I would love to have seen a film noir version, or maybe even some fan fiction version of this, because I think maybe that should have been the route they should have gone for. Maybe I would have appreciated that a bit more. Maybe it would have been a bit too serious in its messaging and its storytelling, but I'd rather probably would have liked to have seen that experiment and just see if it just sticks the landing a bit better for this story. Did this special edition presentation of the Happiness Patrol made me appreciate this story a lot more? To a certain extent, yes. Like I said, I love the extended world building that I had, and what I did appreciate sort of watching it with a fresh pair of eyes, giving it a fair chance, is all the little bits that I've just mentioned here, and probably a lot more, particularly the casting, the character performances, and some of the effects, and just some of the presentation. It is out of this world, but totally Doctor Who at the same time. So that's what I appreciated the most out of this story. Some bits just didn't quite work. Like I said, by part 3, I do feel like it was collapsing under its own weight, and the pipe men creatures. That's just again, I just don't think it was necessary. Or if it was, I wish I had a better sort of costume for them, because it just, I don't know, just didn't quite work for me. I am going to give the Happiness Patrol a TARDIS rating of 6.5 out of 10. Like I said, it does have a lot of good moments in this story. So looking at it from an individual perspective, there is some impressive moments here, some impressive dialogue, storytelling, and character performances. But putting it all together, it has some great bits, not so good bits, and I think it might just be me. I know there is lots of fans for this story. Equally, I know there's a lot of Whovians out there that don't like this story, and I'm sort of like just bouncing around in between. Maybe I've got to be in the right mood to watch this story. It's not one that I'm probably going to be watching over and over again. On paper, I feel that the Happiness Patrol is stronger than, say, Silver Nemesis in terms of like for like story on paper, but I would probably watch Silver Nemesis more, even though I know it has a lot of faults. That's just how I feel about this story. I can't give it a higher grade, even though on paper I feel like it probably is. It's just personal preference. But I would have to say, if you've not seen this story for a long time, do check it out and let me know in the comments below your thoughts to the Happiness Patrol. Is it one of your favourites from the Seventh Doctor era, or are you like me? It's kind of a bit of a mixed bag for you. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. Hit the cloister bell for more notifications. Come say hello and follow me on Facebook and X. And do check out my other fantastic Doctor related content on the Timey Wimey Review TikTok page. And of course right here on the Timey Wimey Review YouTube channel. Thanks again for your love and support as always. And as a good doctor once said, happiness will prevail.